Hello everyone, today in this video we will fight against the atmospheric of our world around us, and this time we will have a general discussion of current situation. Many people complain, and these complaints are justified, that in so-called Western world, I don't like this term, so let's say in so-called Western European countries, so roughly countries of European Union, Northern American countries like US and Canada, and other countries of British Commonwealth like Australia and New Zealand, that recently freedoms of people, especially during the crazy times connected with small friend from China, migrant from China, uh, human freedoms and laws were violated and freedoms largely restricted. Of course, with different regions, it happened to different extent. Luckily, in some states or in some regions of some countries, these stupid restrictions were not introduced. But in general, bad things happened, and freedom was largely of people reduced, and even internal regulations were violated. That violations that guarantee all of these freedoms to the citizens. And all defenders of human rights and so on suddenly became silent. They were silenced by money, of course, of corporations and governments. I know a lot of Madhouse is going on now. All of this wokeness, all of this politcorrecty, all of these troubles we have with everyday life, especially in modern academia, that young people especially fall into that in large numbers. They are becoming more and more spoiled and more lazy. Now even WHO is laughing into our faces, revising its previous decision, which was recommending giving some syrups against the small Chinese friend, that it's not so famous anymore, to children and teens. Now they announced that they revised their own decision, and they do not recommend this these medicaments, or we should say pseudo medicaments, to kids and teens. So we see that we cannot trust our authorities. They prove it, especially during last 3-4 years, above any doubt that we cannot trust them. That we need to fight for our freedoms, because, as one of the greatest US presidents, Ronald Reagan, said, that the freedom for people lasts only one generation if people do not fight for it. So briefly, one can just summarize this saying, that one should that each generation should fight, I would add, like lions, for their own freedom, because governments and corporations, people who run governments and run corporations, will always try to grab freedom from people and limit it to their own benefits, on the cost of people, of course. That's why each generation needs to really take care of their own freedoms and fight for it. What are the methods to fight for freedom? Different types of protests, and first of all awareness and watching the action of governments, and when the action is not according to interest of people, protest with all means. Very often peaceful protest, but involving large numbers of people, are enough. That's why society needs to be aware and organized, and then our life will not be so bad. Yeah, I know it's tough to achieve, but it's doable. And some people, because they are tired, and I understand it, that our governments and corporations violated our freedoms. Many people lost their jobs, or were persecuted when they didn't want to succumb to many stupid requirements and regulations, or harmful even requirements of regulations. I know it was not nice, and I admit it without any discussion. But many people are frustrated, and they are saying, "Yeah, but But in Belarus or Russia or somewhere else in some other countries, they didn't experience so much these things, or they didn't experience it at all. Or China, the propaganda from China, emerging power, so maybe we should go to China because Western model is bad, and so on and so on. So-called Western model is bad. Oh well, I will tell you like this. We have problems now with this march of the Marxism of the Frankfurt School through our institutions, supported by a large faction of the people from big business, because big business always likes socialists in government because they guarantee monopolies for big business to operate. This is this deal, and big business gives them money to introduce their own stupid ideologies into life. I know we have this problem, but we still can protest, we still can fight against it. But in other countries like Russia, China, Belarus, and so on, you cannot. You have to simply succumb to the regime, or you go to Siberia to re-education camp, or to Gobi Desert. In worst case, you are simply physically eliminated, and that's it. And still, for majority of people, level of life in these countries is much lower than the level of life of their counterparts in majority of Western territories, so-called Western territories. That's why we shouldn't succumb to this propaganda. The same Hindu model of life, like Chinese model of life or Russian model of life, and also other models of life like the ones from Africa. Especially women should be aware of this, that the freedoms they enjoy and very often abuse in the Western world, they wouldn't have there. That's why we should defend what we have, we should appreciate our freedoms, we should be aware of the threats, perils for our freedoms, and at the same time for ourselves, and fight against them, make more and more people aware, and make more and more people aware how to preserve our freedoms and try to preserve our own world. Because other working models currently in the world do not give any freedoms and any comfort of life to the vast majority of their own populations. That's why I know madness is everywhere. We are not free of that, of course, as European Union states and so on. We have too much of it. But Eastern or Southern madness, in some sense, it's even worse, because one cannot even have any influence on this what's happening. Not at all. I'm not saying that it's easy in our case to influence the people who are ruling us, but we still can do it, and we should use this opportunity, not to waste it. All the time I'm saying this, and I will, and I hope that our numbers of people who are aware of this truth will grow. Have a nice day. Bye.